got to get to the action in Washington. Joining us now, Texas Congresswoman Beth and Duyne and New York Congressman Lee Zeldin. It's great to have you both on. First to you, Congresswoman. The House Democrats just squeaking through their massive social spending bill today. It faces an uncertain future in the Senate. Your take on this?
Well, I'll tell you, I was on the floor of the House until 5:30 this morning, listening to 8.5 hours of testimony from Speaker McCarthy about all the horrible things that are in this bill. And even with all those warnings, things like this bill is adding 87,000 new IRS bureaucrats to the rolls. It's $367 billion of unfunded taxes that we're going to be adding. It's funding abortion, taxpayer-funded abortion. It's legalizing 8 million illegal aliens right now into our country, which means billions in, again, unfunded benefits that they're going to get. You start tackling on what all of this means, and none of this was discussed by the Democrats on the House. None of this was defended. We are talking about the most massive spending bill that we have ever seen in the history of this country, and we couldn't even have a legitimate debate about it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Congressman Zeldin, what the Congresswoman just said. You got to pass something to find out what's in it, as Pelosi said. I mean, this is the Democrats' grand experiment. They're going to basically be resurrecting the slow to no growth Obama years with higher taxes and regulations, but this time it's on steroids. What do you say?
That's right. And this is an effort to radically transform our country. Some of these congressional Democrats, they say that this is the floor. This isn't the ceiling. And there's a massive tax increase. There's all sorts of policy changes, as Beth is just pointing out. And on top of it, you have hopefully the courage of Senator Joe Manchin sticking out through the remainder of this process, because they want our country to be like some other country somewhere else. And we want our country to be the best version of itself. We're really battling here for the heart and soul of our country. You're pointing out the economic numbers. We all recall when President Obama was in office, he tried to lower expectations to get us used to 2% GDP. And then we saw during 4 years of President Trump's administration that the sky's the limit. The amount of corporate tax revenue that was generated while reducing corporate taxes, and the amount of job growth, having in so many communities all across the country more available jobs than people in that community that fill the positions. And they want us to lower expectations to go backwards.
Yeah, we hear you.
I know the pendulum's swinging back, and Americans are rejecting this type of
we hear you.
Approach on policy.
Let's listen to Kevin McCarthy last night. Watch.
Never in American history has so much been spent at one time. At one time. Never in American history will so many taxes be raised and so much borrowing be needed to pay for all this reckless spending. So you're hiring the 87,000 IRS agents to go after that poor husband and wife working so hard, making 75,000. The effect of this heat your home tax would increase family heating bills by as much as $242 per year. How much less is their paycheck worth because of inflation? It's not just this. As many as 90,000 jobs could be lost as a result. Democrats told us what they want to do is to spy on every American bank account for spending as little as $28 a day. That's less than $200 a week. From bank surveillance to bailouts, this bill takes the problems President Biden and Democrats have already created and makes them much, much worse.
I mean, they're making like Biden's LBJ and FDR combined. He's more like, Nixon, Ford, and Carter. And to the Congressman Zeldin's point, everything the Democrats predicted about the Trump agenda was wrong. Corporate tax revenue is going up. Family wages up 50% more than Democrats predicted. Jobless rates, poverty rates plunging for minorities. Income inequality dropped. Blue-collar wages rising faster than white-collar wages. So, when you see all that, are we back to the no-growth Obama years? What do you think, Congresswoman?
I think it's not only no growth. I think you're going to actually, you've seen zero growth since this president has taken office, but I think you're actually seeing even worse than that. We're talking about a contraction of jobs now. You're talking about supply chain issues that they're not attacking or even addressing. You've got inflation are paying 62% more in gas, or paying 50% more on heating bill, adding $8 billion to the home heat index.
Yeah, that's a good point that Congresswoman makes, because as inflation rises, the president's approval rating, Congressman Zeldin, is dropping. He's at 36% in Quinnipiac. Your final word.
Well, people want competency, and Afghanistan was incompetency, but what's worse is when people know exactly what they're doing wrong and they're doing it anyway. The southern border, that's not incompetency. They know what they're doing it anyway. This bill, people are watching across the country. They don't want this radical transformation of our country, and they feel like this president's asleep at the switch, doesn't have the right people around him, and the policy changes and what's ahead is not what America wants. They want higher expectations for their country, for the president, for the government. They're not getting it.
Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne and Congressman Lee Zeldin, it's good to have you on.